you haven't seen my tutorial on how to do the Tunisian simple stitch and you want to watch that tutorial before you watch how to make this shawl, I'll leave an iCard in the corner that you can click on that will bring you directly to that tutorial on how to do the Tunisian simple stitch. I do recommend that you watch that first if you have never done the Tunisian simple stitch before you make this shawl. And to make the shawl, we're going to want to use a Tunisian hook with a cable because we're going to need lots and lots of stitches on the hook to make this shawl. Okay, so I worked up this miniature version of the shawl because, of course, the shawl is just too big to show in the entire frame of the video. So that's why I went ahead and worked up a mini shawl so you can see the whole entire shawl, what it's supposed to look like in the frame of the video. And this shawl, we're not working from the bottom up. We're actually going to be working this way from left to right. So we're going to be working from edge to edge. And what I did here, I did the left side with the solid color, and then I did the right side with this nice ombre or variegated yarn. And I thought it looked really nice, and what I did is I chose a variegated yarn that had the same color of the solid color. Now, it's not an exact match, but there's different shades of green in this variegated yarn that really go well with this green, so it really worked out well. Kind of like a color blocking, if you will. Since this has like colors of fall or autumn, how nice would it be to make like flowers or leaves with these other colors on the solid side? Another reason why it's nice to make the shawl this way, where you have one side that's solid, is then you can make a nice design doing cross stitch on the solid part of the shawl, or you can do some embroidery, or even sew on some appliques. And these colors here are perfect for the fall season, so you could make like leaves using some of these colors that are in the variegated portion of the shawl, and you could do the cross stitches or appliques or embroider a design on the solid side, and I thought that would look really nice. And let me tell you what colors I used here. I used Red Heart Super Savory yarn. The color I used for the solid side was Medium Time, and this is a 4-ply worsted weight acrylic yarn. If you look at the label, it recommends that you use a size I or 9 crochet hook or a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Now that is the recommendation when you're using like a regular standard crochet hook. But when you're using a Tunisian crochet hook, you do want to go up a size or 2 more than what the label says. So you would want to minimally use a 7.5 millimeter Tunisian hook. So I would recommend when you're using this 4-ply worsted weight acrylic yarn, I really wouldn't go any smaller than like an 8 millimeter Tunisian hook, or it's even better to use a larger one if you have it. So I would use like an 8, 9, or a 10. I find that when I use a 4-ply worsted weight acrylic yarn, I prefer to use a size 8 or 9 millimeter hook when I use a Tunisian hook. Okay, so the solid side was the Medium Time, and then the ombre yarn, the variegated yarn, is also Red Heart yarn, and it's a 4-ply worsted weight acrylic yarn just like this Medium Time is. And this one's called Fall, or it might be called Autumn, and of course because it has the nice colors of the fall season, so I thought this would be really nice. And I may go ahead and do either some cross stitch or appliques or embroidery on it later on the solid side, you know, pulling out these colors, because I did buy some yarn that had like the solid colors of this. So if I decide to do some cross stitch or embroidery or appliques on the side, I'll definitely show you some pictures of that. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for just a moment because I'm going to show you the other shawls and tell you about the yarns that I used for the other ones that I made. And I also have a shawl that my son made because both my kids like to crochet. I've taught them both how to crochet, and he wanted to try to make a shawl. He saw me making it and he wanted to try it, and he really likes to do the Tunisian crochet as well. I'm going to show you the shawls that I made. Now, of course, this is a mini version of the first shawl that I made using the Tunisian simple stitch. And this is the completed larger version of this mini shawl. So one side looks just like this, but it's just much longer, and the other side is just like this one, but it's just much longer. So you can see it looks just like this if you fold it over. Same thing, you just keep going, working. So you just keep working from left, doing all the increases, and then you start the decreases with the other yarn. That one was done exactly the same as the mini version of the shawl with the Red Heart Super Saver 4-ply worsted weight acrylic yarn. The same exact colors, just a miniature version, so I could show you the whole entire shawl in the frame of the video camera. So I'm going to put this one away, and I'm going to show you another shawl that I made using the same exact pattern as this shawl. So here's another one I did, and this one's really pretty. I did this all with the same yarn. I didn't do a solid side and then a variegated side. I still have to weave in my ends, so I'm not quite done. I did finish it, I just haven't woven in my ends yet. This shawl, same exact style as this, except for I just used all the same yarn. I used Lion Brand Ferris Wheel yarn to make this shawl here. In this one, the color is called Morning Java, and it has really nice colors. It has some grays in there and browns, so it's a really nice shawl, and it just made a beautiful striping pattern. So I really liked the way this came out. This yarn is a lighter weight yarn than this Red Heart yarn was. So I know it says it's a 4-ply or a medium 4, but in my opinion, it is just a little bit lighter than this one. It feels lighter, for one. This one, when it was done, it felt much heavier than this one. So this one definitely feels lighter, and it's really nice. Now, this sample I did with a 9mm Tunisian hook. This one I also did with the same size 9mm Tunisian hook. I'm working on another shawl. I'm using the same Tunisian simple stitch to make this shawl, exactly the same way. I'm going to show you how to make this shawl in the video. So I really wanted to show you how you can really get some different looks and with the different types of yarns. In this one, I'm making this shawl with the Lion Brand Mandala Ombre yarn, and I really like the Mandala ombre yarns. They're beautiful. And the color for this Mandala ombre yarn I'm using for this shawl is called Pure. And it's really pretty. It has different shades of pink and different shades of blue. This one's really going to look beautiful. I just love how it looks. It's very pretty. So you can really get different looks for this shawl. I mean, the stitches will be the same, of course. I mean, we're using Tunisian simple stitch, so always going to look the same. But you can really get different looks by choosing different yarns. So I just wanted to show you that this shawl can be made using different types of yarn. Now, I did mention that my son was also making the shawl. He wanted to learn how to make it. This is the one that he made, and it's just beautiful. He chose the Lion Brand Comfy Cotton yarn, and he used the color Mai Tai. So it looks just beautiful. If you look how pretty this looks. So we have one that has almost like a color blocking where there's a solid side and the ombre, and then you can make it with self-striping yarns, and it also looks beautiful with the Comfy Cotton yarn. And it just looks beautiful with all this color. I just thought it looked, I was amazed at how well he did. It's just beautiful with this Comfy Cotton yarn. So as you can see, we've been busy making shawls around here. So, I mean, there's just so many color choices and combinations and different yarns you can use. So I just wanted to let you know that you definitely can choose different yarns to make this shawl. And I just thought it'd be fun to show you different options. That way, if you want to make the shawl, you can kind of decide if you want to use a mandala yarn or a Ferris wheel or, you know, a regular 4-ply worsted weight acrylic yarn or even the Comfy Cotton. I mean, they really look nice. And then, of course, you can choose what size Tunisian hook you want. Like I said, this one, if you look at it, he used a size 8. But if you're going to make it with this, like, 4-ply worsted weight acrylic yarn, like a Red Heart yarn or similar yarn to that, I really wouldn't recommend using a smaller hook than an 8mm, or you could use like a 9 or even a 10mm crochet hook as well.